Well, hello there again, friends and family. I see y'all snuck into the country kitchen again, and I didn't even hear you. Did y'all knock on the door? Yep, Gracie probably recognized you, just let you on in anyway, didn't she? But as you can see, like always, we got some ingredients laid out here for something we're going to be cooking up this evening. You might wonder what it's going to be. Well, I had a plan. I wanted to make some stuffed cabbage rolls. And I had bought a head of cabbage just to do that. But when I got into cutting off the end and looking inside, it had issues. Not to mention, it was quite compact, which makes it difficult to get the outer leaves off. So you wind up having to boil or steam it quite some time. But anyway, I couldn't go that route. But thankfully, I had bought me a couple of these packages of the classic coleslaw mix from Dole. Yep, surely did. Which has green cabbage and shredded carrots, which is good. This actual recipe that, my great-grand, my grand, and even my mother made included carrots. So that's all the more better. Plus, I won't be having to chop up cabbage for this. But then, you're going to need an onion, as always. I'm using fairly large sweet onion today. Sweet yellow. I'll only be using half of that. And now I got some fresh garlic as well. We're going to be mincing up 4 cloves of that as well. But you can use dried garlic if you don't have any fresh, just, or garlic powder. You just got to remember your measurements. It's 1/8 of a teaspoon per clove for garlic powder and 1/4 teaspoon for minced. Yeah, granted, if it's a little less or a little more, it's not really going to matter. But then we're going to also be using some tomatoes, some petite diced with green chilies, like Rotel. To kick it up a notch, we're going to be using some beef consommé. And those of you who watch me cook a lot of times know, I tend to favor this over beef broth. And of course, you're going to need some salt, some ground black pepper, some basil, because that enhances the tomatoes. Y'all all know that. And some Worcestershire sauce there. And of course, some long grain rice. But we got to have some meat. But before we show you the meat we're going to be using, understand this dish is popo food. And how much cabbage here, and how much rice, and how much meat, all depended on what was available at the time. What time of month it was. Was it near the first of the month? When my parents had went grocery shopping, they only went once a month after Daddy got paid from the U.S. Army. And then, as this dish was made, things changed. We all saw it. It's not that it wasn't any better or good, but, there may not be so much meat towards the end of the month. So there'd be more rice and more cabbage. Here again, depending on what they had. But let me get the meat out of the fridge, and we'll show you what we're going to be using, because that also changed depending on what they had, and again, what time of month it was. Now, what I'm going to be using today is a 1 pound of hamburger. And this is just your standard 73/27 ground beef that you see me buy all the time at Superfoods. Yep, nothing special. Because the fat's in flavor, or the flavor's in the fat, as I always say. But that's the point. towards the end of the month, this dish, whether my great-grandmother or mother were making stuffed cabbage rolls, or, as I tend to prefer, unstuffed cabbage rolls, which is what we're going to be doing tonight, since we lacked the leaf cabbage to roll them up. Surely they did. You know, she may only use a half a pound, a quarter pound. And there were even times in my childhood that we didn't have the meat, so they would supplement it with potatoes. Surely they would. There'd be no meat involved. There'd be beef bouillon flavoring. And then, something I've done over the years to add a little more flavor and make it a little more special, I have a secret ingredient, which you can either use or not use. Let me show it to you. Yep. I always add in a can of V8 juice. When I was younger, I used the original, you know. But as you get older, you got to start watching your sodium. Well, maybe you need to still be watching it when you're younger. You know, affects your blood pressure. Now, I use the low sodium. And I mean, it's primarily tomato juice, but it's got all those other veggies in it. You know, watercress, celery, and all kinds of things. It adds a unique flavor to the dish. So, hey, y'all. I've got to get mincing up some of those onions and that garlic. See if, you know, I know Gracie, she won't help, because Kitty can't have, you know, alliums or anything from the onion, shallot, or garlic family. So I'm all on my own. And then we'll get this all going on. As y'all can see, we've got that there pan on the fire. And we got our ground beef in there. And we're using this here fancy gadget here. I didn't have for 65 years of my life. But some fine viewers sent to me. And it's amazing. And I just used to use my small spatula and break it up. Which it was a lot more effort. I will grant you that. If you ain't got one of these, you might want to think about getting one. Now that I've got, actually now got 3. And that, you might want to think about getting one. And you're just going to want to break up that ground beef. Yep, you are. Because we're going to be browning it. Because that's one of the bases of, you know, if we wanted to do stuffed cabbage rolls, which this recipe was the recipe that all the ladies in my family for 4 generations used to make their stuffed cabbage rolls. Of course, my mother, she would often opt for what I'm doing tonight, which is the unstuffed virgin. Bear that in mind. This is really flavorful. If you want to make traditional Polish or German or what have you stuffed cabbage rolls. So we're just going to let this ground beef brown up some more. Surely we are. And then we'll get to adding in the onion, the garlic, and some seasoning. And I add all that into my ground meat. Surely I do. So now we got our ground beef where it's cooking really well. It's not quite browned yet. But we're going to take this opportunity to add in some of our finely diced, and you know, whether you're going to use this for a stuffing for your cabbage rolls or do the unstuffed version, you know, small, petite diced or fine is all the more better. And we're going to be adding them in right now. with that there browning beef. It ain't quite brown yet. Now we ain't gonna add the garlic in right now. Why? Because we don't want to take any risk of burning our garlic. No, we don't. If you ever wonder why some dish that you have made with garlic, especially fresh, it really don't matter, and it's got a bitter, sort of kind of burnt taste to it, that's because you may have added your garlic just a little bit too soon. No, we're not talking roast garlic like I have done in the oven. You burn it, it does not get tasty. Just bear that in mind. So we're going to place that onion in there, onion, as I often say, and let it cook down for about 5 minutes or more till it just gets sort of kind of translucent. Then we're going to add in the garlic and start popping in some other ingredients that'll have some liquid, so we don't take no risk of burning our garlic. Now that onion's just started to turn a little bit translucent. So now we're going to drop in 4 cloves, finely minced fresh garlic. Sure we are. We're just going to get that all in. And we're going to mix it all in. Now, we got to put something in with some moisture, just so that garlic doesn't have a chance of burning. So hold on. So the first thing we're going to add in is our petite diced tomatoes with green chilies. We didn't drain them. We need that there moisture. Surely we do. We're going to get ahead and mix that on in there too, thoroughly. Of course, we'll be mixing a lot as this proceeds. Next, we're going to drop in a can of that beef Consommé. Oh yeah. And for now, about a half can of water, okay? So let's add half a can of water. And there's a reason for that. And as I go, I'll show it to you. So now that we got the ground beef cooked off, we got our onion in there, our garlic, our diced tomatoes, and green chilies, we got to start adding some seasoning. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to add in a half a teaspoon of basil, and dried basil leaves. Oh yeah, that'll bring out the flavor of those tomatoes. Next, what we're going to try to do is put us in about a half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. A little more, a little less, ain't gonna kill us. I like that peppery flavor. You don't like so much, cut it down to a quarter. And for right now, we're going to put us in a half a teaspoon of salt. Remember, you can always add more, but you can't take it out. So be careful with your salt, because you'll want to taste it and see it when the finished product comes out, whether you need to add more or not. You can always add more. Can't get it back out of there. And next, we're going to add in some more flavor. It's going to give it some robustness. And that's that there Worcestershire sauce. And we're going to drop us in a tablespoon of that fine stuff. Yep. Right there. Now, once we give this a nice mix, we're going to be adding in our classic coleslaw. Green cabbage, shredded carrots. And like I said, this is basically the recipe the ladies in my family over 4 generations used to stuff their cabbage rolls. You know? But today we're going to take the easy way. We're going to pour that in. And you can see it's getting to be a full pot. Don't worry, it's going to cook down. Surely it is. We'll just get that on down in there. And we're going to put the lid on at this point in time and let this cook down some before we add in some of our secret ingredient, the B8, and that. Now you might wonder, when's the rice come in? Well, you can go ahead, if your pot's big enough, and throw the rice in with everything else here. We'll have to take a look at that when this cooks down some. And you do want to stir this all in so that cabbage starts picking up some of all that goodness. You know, from the spices, from the meat, the onion, and the garlic. You know, just don't pile your cabbage on top, folks. No. Get it on down in there. Mix it all up. Make the pot happy. You know, like a family get-together where everybody is joining in. Okay? So we're going to let this cook down a while. And of course, some of that moisture is going to evaporate off. And if we got enough room, we'll add the rice here. If we don't, that's why we got this pot. Because like I say, if my ladies in my family over 4 generations, and of course me, was making this for cabbage roll stuff, the rice would be mixed on in. If not, especially what my mama would do, she'd make this up and we would eat it over rice. Or, especially the version that didn't have potatoes in it, we might eat it over smashed taters. Not mashed, not whipped, but just sort of lightly mashed up. And there were times, for whatever reason, we had it over egg noodles. So this whole dish is quite diverse. So y'all, what have we been doing since we added everything in here besides secret ingredient? We just been letting this simmer, or actually a low boil, to get all the moisture boiled on off. Yes, we have. And since the pot was getting so full, I decided to get another pot and cook up the rice. It was a half cup long grain rice and 1 cup of water. I mean, it's just that simple. Bring the water up to a boil, dump your rice in, give it a quick stir, throw the lid on, and turn it down to a low simmer and leave it alone for about 15-20 minutes. So we already got the rice done. Now granted, if we were going to use this for stuffing for cabbage rolls, at some point in time we'd have to mix the rice on in there with the rest of this. But I'm opting to do like my mother mostly did and eat it over rice. Yep. But as we continue to cook off the liquid in this mixture, we're going to add our secret ingredient, the V8 juice. Make sure you shake it up. And we're just going to add that on in there. And you can see once again, well, that's a pot full of goodness. You know, like all my recipes, this makes a pile of food. If you were going to use this, once all that moisture cooks down, to stuffed cabbage rolls, now I can tell you, this is stuffed enough cabbage rolls to fill up 2 9 by 13 baking dishes. Because that's exactly how my mother did it. She'd make up one 9 by 13 inch baking dish, and then another one. She'd cook them both, and then what she would do is serve the one and freeze the other. Because unless you've ever done it, stuffed cabbage rolls freeze really well, as does this. You just got to scoop it off into some those there quart freezer bags. Plop it in the freezer for later. Or when you do have some nice cabbage, you can make cabbage rolls. You can use it for the filling. So we're just going to let that continue to simmer off that liquid. And it's basically done now. And I've already tasted it, and I can tell you, the flavor's dead on. It's so darn tasty, it'll almost make you cry. Well, y'all, we added that B8 juice, and then all we've done is let that there liquid, while it was simmering, well, I actually had a light boil, reduce. Now, we didn't reduce it all the way. No, we didn't. And there's a reason for that, and it really didn't dawn on me until I was cooking this again tonight. Especially with my mother. Now, she might serve this as the unstuffed version over the rice, which is right here, or she never put the rice in it that I can remember. She'd always cook her rice in another pot and then mix it in. But then it dawned on me why she did that. She'd take this out, and I can remember my my grandmother doing this. They'd take it out, place it in a colander, and let it drain over the pot. So all this wonderful sauce and juices and everything would drain back out as this mixture cooled and that. Then they'd take the drained mixture and place it in the cabbage leaves, you know, softened. Roll them up, put them in a greased baking dish, 9 by 13s, however many it would make up, which it makes up a pile. This will make at least 2 9 by 13 baking dishes full. Then, rather than just open up a can of regular tomato sauce and pour over, which is pretty much standard fare for cabbage rolls, they'd take this liquid and this sauce, and then they would pour it over the cabbage rolls. Yeah, with all that flavor from the ground meat, the onion, the garlic, the seasoning we've used. Oh yeah. Maybe that's why their cabbage rolls were all the more better. Not to say the unstuffed version, like what we're having tonight, isn't all the more better too. So hey, all we got left to do is plate it up and do a taste test for all of you. So we got us a bowl out and a plate, you know, our fine china. And we're going to take some of that fine fluffy cooked rice, and we're going to head it on out of there. Place it in the bottom of this bowl. And it's been cooling, but that's okay. That mixture over there is nice and toasty. So we got that on in there. Now what we're going to do is add in some of our unstuffed cabbage mixture or stuffing, regardless of how you want to go. And we're just going to pile some on top right there. Woo, and the smell will really get to you. Now, to make it all the more better, we got to have a topping, right? And Mama might use Parmesan cheese, or she might use something else. Another secret ingredient. Let me get it. Yep, if she had it. Maybe after the holidays, she'd top it with some of these French's crispy fried onions. You know how I feel about onions. You can just place some of them on top. Or you could shake some Parmesan cheese on top if you wanted to. Surely you could, or any of your favorite cheeses. We're just going to put some of those crispy fried onions on there. And we got to have something to go with it, right? And what goes better with this? Oh, some of our poor folk garlic toast. Yes, indeed. So let me grab that. And then we'll finish off plating it up. We'll give it a taste test, okay? So we'll add in some of our world famous poor folk Parmesan Italian seasoned garlic toast right there. And there we have it. The unstuffed version. Cabbage rolls in a bowl. Now I hope y'all have enjoyed the video and learning how we used to cook back in the day. Over 4 generations of my family. And this meal right here, you can stretch it as far as you want to. You can add more cabbage, more rice, cut back your meat, or don't even use it at all. Use taters. It's so versatile, but also so good for you. Let's give it a taste test and see if it's knock your socks off. Tasty, okay? So let's get us a nice spoonful of it right here and give it the final taste test. I've already been taste testing it, so I know it's all the more yummy. So here we go. Got a nice big spoonful. Oh yeah. That is slap the pants off tasty. And if you're daring and brave and you get out there and try it, I think you'll agree too. I don't show you anything. It's not tasty. Many of you who have tried my recipes know that. So, I've got to eat. It's getting late. And then, I'm going to jump in a hot tub because I've been out in the yard all day. And I'm going to relax. And I do hope this video finds all of y'all safe, well, and happy with your friends and family, wherever you may be, in our great country or in the world. Until I, Gracie, the Kitty Crew, see you on the next video. Y'all take care, stay safe, and God bless each and every one of you. Goodbye and good night for now. That is tasty, and I am hungry, so we're gonna get to eat. We surely are. Gracie was under my feet the whole time, but she knows she can't have it because it's got that garlic and onions in it. Yep. Later on.